Hi there, this is Mark Vergeer again with the FS-UAE Launcher, which has an interface that actually is a bit easier to navigate, I guess, because they use nice icons. It's just a bit different. It is as configurable as the Amiga, but for some of the more intense things you have to put in some sort of text configuration thing, and it's not for all, but yeah, I just wanted to show you some more because Amiga runs on it, but also this. You can define an Amiga 4000 with a Cyberstorm PPC boot ROM. The hard drive, of course, there's an extra hard drive for file sharing. The chip RAM is 2. The Zorro fast memory is 512 megabytes. The graphics card memory is 128 megabytes. Then you have an accelerator board, and that's the Cyberstorm PPC. The graphics card is the Picasso 4 Zorro 3. You need a boot ROM for that. And the network card that you can use with it is the Amiga 2065. And the CPU that it boots up with actually is any of the CPUs. I believe it has to be a 68020 because the Amiga OS has a 68K part that loads, and then it kicks in and boots the PowerPC part. And it's good to set the floppy drive volume, the empty floppy drive volume, to 0, because otherwise you'll just have that snapping sound, which can be quite irritating. And this is the text file where you can actually edit or put in an Amiga UAE configuration that is very similar to actually AUE, because the the UAE emulator actually is underneath this all. It uses a couple of plugins. It uses the Qemu PowerPC plugin, so it allows you to use the 604E PowerPC. But just let's see if it boots actually. So it shows that I still have to configure my CD32 controller. I have a different gamepad, a 360 gamepad, and it basically works as a 360 gamepad for most applications, but it actually has a different ID, so yeah, the emulator sort of protests. Now, you did see the boot screen, and the boot screen actually is, I believe, the still the 68K mode, and then it just starts to boot. It's a bit slower than the 68K screen, but this actually basically is Amiga OS 4.1, a PowerPC OS, which is actually very similar to what you just saw with Coffin and with the Amiga Game Selector, and to some extent also what you will see with Amiga. Basically, this is very similar to this is really a modern UAE, GUI, and I say AUE because this Amiga OS and similar things, MorphOS and Eros, they make it possible to run Amiga OS, and this actually is tied to Amiga, but MorphOS is something similar, but that can be run on PowerPC Macs. I believe there's an Intel version in the works, or was in the works, I'm not sure if it's still there. It can run a few of the, I mean, it does look very similar when you look at the layout. You have the preferences, you know, the default things. You do have the devs. Basically, the whole structure of the system is actually very similar to what you'd find on the classic Amiga Workbench. Also the utilities, there's more stuff in it here. DVD players, all sorts of extra stuff. I don't think the say utility is here. Show config. Now, what is interesting is that if you configure this with the WinUAE, or the UAE, you can actually select PCI graphics cards, PCI boards, and it actually supports, to some extent in the beta version, the Voodoo 3 emulation. Voodoo 3, 3D hardware emulation, has been used in, for example, PCM or 86 box, to allow for 3D hardware acceleration, Visa compatible memory and stuff. I have yet to get that to work because, yeah, it's supposedly it works, but I have not get it working, because that would actually make it possible to run some of the applications that now will actually crash, because the screen is actually more of a frame buffer thing than that it's actually usable as a real, how do you say that, render. Well, I'll show you, because you'll get weird errors. Some stuff works, but other stuff doesn't. I've transported some of the apps that run on the 68K version. So, for example, Directory Opus. That actually is the Directory Opus that runs on Amiga OS, the 68K version. There's an emulation layer, very similar to what Apple and Microsoft are doing with the ARM processor and Intel emulation on ARM. Basically, this whole system also emulates the 68020, like the Amiga 1200 processor, and it can also emulate AGA graphics through RunInUAE. Actually, that's the AUE emulator, the UAE emulator within the AUE emulator in this regard. But it allows you to have a classic Amiga platform. I could actually give it a go. Oops. So you can boot into Workbench. And you can go into a bit of a more simplified Workbench environment or a full Workbench environment. Now, if you want to play games, you'd better select the simplified Workbench environment, so it has the bare minimum. So like the basic Workbench mode, it has the bare minimum, so it has the least overhead, because it's basically a similar operating system running within a similar operating system. So you don't want to have all these driver stuff things working. So basically there's hardly any Workbench functionality, you know. It's just the window mapper, and that's that. So let's see if I can reset it for now, because I still have to figure out the key combination. It's like help and end or something like that, but for the video I just figured let's just reset the damn thing. So basically your machine powers on with the OCS or the AGA graphics, and then the RTG, you know, the Picasso card kicks in. Yeah, it's I think on a PC probably Morph OS will work better than running this within AUE, because Morph OS has similar capabilities, you know, like the run in Amiga capabilities and stuff. But yeah, I mean, there's if you configure it well, there's a ton of software for it. I think iBrowse might work if I configured the network properly. Let me see if I can go to, for example, Eminet, or still trying to buffer. Let me see, Eminet. OS4 Eminet. the OS4 depot. So you can actually download and install software for it, and this functionality is also possible with the Amiga, with the Amiga Game Selector, and a lot of others. But yeah, I mean, if you want to check out Quake, Quake 2, for example, for OS4, yeah, you could actually do that. But so yeah, iBrowse actually works. A lot of the properly programmed software that actually uses the this API, the Workbench API, more or less runs flawlessly. But things like demos or games, they have a harder time. I don't think Magic 64 works. Perhaps it will, I'm not sure. Start. No, it just gets kicked out of the emulator. So probably it wants to access the screen, and I think what is happening here is that the emulator probably defaults to the AUE screen or something. It just wants to use a graphics mode that isn't there, and because the emulation, the PowerPC emulation is not complete yet, you know, it just panics and just exits. But it's actually quite interesting to have a PowerPC version of Amiga running on a little mini PC, and then running a classic Amiga again. The thing is, if it's done properly and the machines are emulated 100%, you may only have, like, you know, a couple of nanoseconds delay. So if your machine is really capable, there may actually not be that much noticeable delay when you do nested emulation. And I think nested emulation, when it works, actually shows that emulation as a preservation type thing will actually be able to exist if it works in a nested way. So, example, 50 years in the future, we have computer systems that are just vastly different. We might actually be able to go back to this, provided we have enough emulated computer steps in between for this actually to function. So it may be a bit of a pain to get it working, but perhaps if, you know, GitHub and all these open source software stuff actually keeps porting these, we might be able to bring them back into the future. But the open source nature of operating systems, or being able to emulate them, actually makes these type of softwares and these types of environments, provided you have a way of inputting or interacting with it that is somehow translatable to a mouse and keyboard. We might just be thinking to computers. If Elon Musk has his way, we all have chips implanted. But yeah, so emulators often just have a way of interacting with the hardware that is just different. PCTask, I don't think it works, but set mode, board. We could try to see if it works. I don't think it will, but oh, it does. Oh, this is weird. Okay, now this is weird, because I did not expect this to work. But actually, what this is a software version to run PC software, and it does a 486. Now, this might be a bit of a kicker. I'm not sure. I don't think it works. I'll be able to show it on the 68K version, but this. Oh no. Okay, I'll get out of this, because this. Yeah, so it just won't work. So let's exit this, and let's go back to. I think this one. So you can configure a very high-end 68060 CPU You can make a lot of these older Workbench releases work with the highest end 68,000 processor, provided you put a processor library into the system like a driver, so it translates certain calls. Because although compatible, these 68,000 variants have different capabilities that are accessed through or protected through these software libraries. So if I go to extra emulators and go to MUPC, no, this is CPC. MUPC, PCTask. That's actually the same one as we were just running. Advanced video options, set mode, because AUE 480, 640 by 480. So if we run that, start. So we have MS-DOS. So this pretty much was my PC that I had back in the day when Amiga was sort of valid still, sort of current. Now the PowerPC version, the PowerPC actually is a lot faster. Let me see. Oh, this still. Let's see if I can exit this. Let me see. No. Escape. Oh God. Let's boot into it again. I think it'll move towards the fastest version, but yeah. And let's see. Max and that weird utility. Sysinfo. Oh, yeah. It just that just is not very happy because it wants to have the library. I could do a speed check. Older versions would crash, but this actually sort of complains about wanting a special version. But yeah, this is like crazy fast. But if I go to Workbench, Utilities, which Amiga, it probably will say how fast it's actually running. So this is actually 140 megahertz, the 60660. If you have JIT enabled, you can't use the MMU. But yeah, let's go to the PCTask thing. I think it's just amazing to see how, something that basically is an Amiga 4000, Amiga 1200, PCTask. Well, this actually is a kicker. So if you start it, and it may not be the fastest screen mode, you really have to, PCT quit. Right, Amiga Dell, yeah, I always forget. So, if we do dir, oh, it's still booting. Do dir, ver, but if we do win, this is a kicker. Windows 3.1. Now on a real Amiga, I had this running on my A1200. My A1200, but then with the Amiga AGA graphics, and you can't do this. You can only have this running with a more advanced graphics card, the long bus. This actually may be running faster if I boot in the 68020 mode, because the emulating the 6860 may actually have certain issues. But yeah, I mean, imagine this actually working as good as it does back in the day. The Amiga would be able to run Windows. I mean, it is, but it would be way too slow on a real 1200 or. Not really usable, but it's cool to see. And they do a smart update, because they only seem to update the portion of the screen that changes, so it doesn't have to draw the entire screen all the time. But for things like word processing or using Notepad and stuff, it's actually quite doable. But let's get out of this and just do the FS-UAE. And this is the 68020 and just the fastest thing around. And I think it then does MMU. So let's boot into this. This actually, I believe it's actually a bit faster. And if we set the CPU speed to max, like so, and if we go to Workbench and go to Utilities and go to which Amiga, and I'm not sure how precise or how valid these are, but this is like you know, over a megahertz worth of 68020 processing power. It does have a memory managed unit, but it does have a FPU. So let's go to PCTask. A more simplified system, emulating a more simplified CPU may actually be advantageous when doing stuff like this. And you can see actually it does seem to work a bit faster. Just because the little program loop of a 6802 processor probably is much more simple. So let's do Windows and see how fast it boots. And I do believe it's significantly faster. So, you know, you shouldn't want to gravitate towards, you know, putting in the highest emulation CPU, because it's not necessarily the fastest. That's also, for example, the case in PCM. If you go for the Pentium 3 with that and want to select the highest clock frequency, you may actually run into a bottleneck, and you get a way faster and responsive system if you, for example, choose an easier processor to emulate, which has a much smaller code cycle to go through, much smaller instruction cycle to go through during the processing emulation loop, which is, for example, AMD K26 processor, which actually is able to be run at 100% on most current systems. I think it's marginally faster, but not by much, I guess, but it does seem to be a bit more responsive. I think there's people actually. No, that's the Atari. I think my cousin Ron. I remember him putting a Zen ET4000 or something like that into his Atari. Weird stuff like that. It tremendously enhanced the capabilities of his Atari, but I'm not sure if he was actually. What is it? If he still could run Atari games on it. I'm not sure. So yeah, I mean this is like for very patient people, and if you want to use a word processor, probably it's also meant for people who do one-type finger typing, and basically have to search row by row the key that they want to depress. Perhaps look again before pressing the key, you know, like perhaps using reading glasses or bifocals. That's a bit of an ageism. I shouldn't have done that, but yeah. So the file manager, it's like, yeah, it doesn't, it's not very responsive, but it's crazy, isn't it? Amiga end or no, that's so that's, I have to make it focused because otherwise, yeah. So let's double click this. It's really weird considering how normal we find all these 3D worlds being projected on our screens, and you know, having all these discussions about frame rate and milliseconds and yeah, you know, 200 frames per second. Keyword, I'm not sure. Let's get out of this. So Amiga. Now with all this FPGA Mr. stuff, you sort of tend to forget what is possible in with software. And software sometimes is actually a lot cheaper or free. And this is the AUE interface. And I believe this is actually a Workbench install that I did prior to the last one I showed you, because this actually is some sort of blotched version that sort of it's a prior version. It's not as well defined when it comes to so it uses the UEGFX card. Now with this, let's see if the work is similar. No, this is similar. Let's see if I have emulators and Magic C64. Oh, it doesn't show them all, I think. Show all files. No, it's just a fraction of it being. Is this complete? This probably will not work because this is like running. Shapeshifter actually runs because it actually is not emulating the CPU, but actually uses the real Amiga CPU for the Macintosh processor, because actually it's the same. I would not imagine this to run, no. So this is the storage interrupt, data storage interrupt. The red zone was damaged, kill. So there is better memory protection, and yet there isn't, because you see that the GUI sort of hangs. So let's go and restart, and then it just kicks out. So let's see if it's possible to, because this in this version, I believe the screen is treated more as a real screen, so more software actually will run using the AUE or the WinUAE, I always forget, version of the emulator. But yeah, going Amiga OS 4.1 because it's the the laytest and greatest. Well, if you go emulation, it's not. But things like nine fingers will not work, I think. No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't. The what is it? The whdload probably isn't installed yet. but these are executables, the FPGA. One of those suckers. So yeah, let's see if there's files. I'm not sure. It probably doesn't want to work. It'll probably. Oh, well, yeah. Sometimes you can have that actually the demo uses the Workbench AUI properly, and then you have a demo, but it actually crashes the moment I press both mouse buttons. It actually crashes. Exit. What else is possible on the emulation side of things? Hopefully there's this. Oh, I have to go to my drive. So it's E. And emulating a Sharp X688000 actually is possible with a MiSTer, but this emulator, the XM6-G, is actually a bit more capable because it does support the hard drive images, the large hard drive images, and there's actually quite a few of these images around. And this actually contains a sort of GUI, sort of Norton Commander-like thing that allows you to just basically navigate. And a lot of things have been translated. And the setting that you just want to look for, let me see the options. If you want to configure this emulator, basically you just configure this. This here you can in this one you configure the drive image, the AES drive image, as system. You define the XVI version, and you select this one. There's a couple of speeds you can select. This basically is best. You can go a bit slower if things are running too fast. Max out the RAM, which is 12 megabytes. It's not a whole lot, but you'll be able to use the GUI and loading the games from hard drive. Let me see. It is possible to change directory or change drives. What is it? You have to press a thing twice or something. Q, yeah, and then you go to the C directory, and of course all the keys are mapped differently. Ah, there it is. So it's possible to select. I'm not sure if it boots into C. You may be able actually to change the drive ladder from within the the drive, from within this system. I forget how to do it. Oh, README. README. So it actually shows you how to work things. These are the games that are installed, and this game that I'm showing you here, this drive is actually a very well-known drive for this system, and this collection is there. If you Google it, you'll bound to run into this, and you'll only be successful running this, and not to be elitist or something like that, but you'll be only be able to use this probably well if you actually know where to find this stuff, because you do need to tinker around. and have to invest, have to check. And let me see. I want to see how you change the drive. Opens drive selection. So the L is the drive selection. So if I go L and I move to C, and then I go to multimedia, music, and there's a couple of music players, but if I do MDZ start, then there's a ton of different, well, basically this system, the Sharp X6800, probably is Japan's answer to the Amiga. And while the Amiga has a very Unix-like operating system, I think it's very reminiscent of Linux even, this actually has more of an MS-DOS based operating system. There's a command prompt, there's auto exit bat and stuff. But this system actually is very closely related to the Capcom arcade boards, and actually quite a few arcade games were developed using this system. As a result, it can actually sound a lot like an arcade board. And I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this actually wants to do the MIDI thing. I may be able to configure the unit to run MIDI. Out. Perhaps I should reset, because you'll be able to use an MT32 with this, and you can use the Amiga wavetable, or the the Windows wavetable, the MIDI wavetable stuff. So basically, a lot of the games had MIDI capabilities, very high-end thing. And if you look at what this was capable of, and you look at the MS-DOS systems that the West was using, yeah, this also has like, you know, a high-end MSX feel to it. Let me see, multimedia, music, MZD. I think I was running this one. Afterburner. Let's see if it'll play. It might not. Oh yeah. So basically, this is the Windows MIDI interface. So it's not the best. So you could actually go native with it and not use the. Let me see. What's the B music? Is that music? Sega, because the sound capabilities, is this Sega or is this the other one? Sega? No. Not sure, these are not the same files again, I guess. Afterburner. Yeah, I'm recording this through the turn off my mic and turn on. That is cool, wasn't it? It's actually allowing you to see the arrangements by the piano keys that actually are being depressed. So for figuring out how the songs actually are or work, this is a great tune, I guess. Let me see, what was I trying to Launchbox? And if we go to Megadrive, second Megadrive, and Dangerous Seed. Yeah, I'm lazy. I mean, I could get up and get the card and put it in a Nintendo, Yeah, put a Megadrive card into a Nintendo. But yeah, this is also convenient. You know, it's dangerous seed. Let's see if my controller is actually supported, because I just love this game to a large extent because of the soundtrack, actually. And it's just a heck of a great game. Great, isn't it? Yeah, sure. It's installing, but yeah. Let me see. I do think I might finally be able to use a bit of a, yeah, and then just enhance it a bit. Cool. Right, so yeah. Hello there. Yeah, I just, you know, it's great to have a PC and emulation software. Yeah, just check out stuff. Check out emulation sites, and you'll be able to have a tremendous time without having to spend a ton of money. And with the way DRM and gaming and games that you purchased getting taken away from people, I think emulation is more important than ever before. It's not about piracy, it's about game preservation. When the companies that actually put them out, they don't take their content seriously, because it's culture, it's history, and it should be made accessible, I think. Anyways, Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye bye.